We now have fewer people in our jails than any time since World War II. And we are safer for it and better for it.
Huh. I wonder how that's going to work out. Yep, it worked out exactly like you thought it would, with just insane criminal behavior like the one that you're watching right now, where a 25-year-old woman was assaulted and was forced on herself by a criminal as people literally stood back, didn't intervene, and just filmed the incident. Yeah, now, of course, if someone wants to use any kind of substance personally for themselves, of course they shouldn't be in jail. But when the New York City mayor specifically frees murderers and rapists from jail, lets them loose on the streets of New York City, and then claims to be for justice, claims we are safer and better because of it, you now know why one of America's biggest and most important cities is left in ruins as people are fleeing it in droves, myself included, never coming back to that piss-smelling, rat-infested hellhole that has been ruined by big government. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski of We Are Changed.org, and yet another edition of What the F is Going On. And of course, there's a lot to get into, especially with the sickening events that just unfolded over the weekend, as there's a huge disinformation propaganda effort right now to obfuscate what is really happening. We're going to do our best to uncover that here on independent media that addresses the hard and important issues that need to be talked about. Unlike the rest of the mainstream media, social media promoted trash out there that literally is just making up things to be butthurt about, or trying to incentivize the destruction of our modern civilization. And yeah, because we don't do that, we don't play ball with that degenerate, sinister, almost satanic agenda. So that's why we are 100% demonetized, heavily shadow banned, and of course censored. So check out our t-shirt store so we can sustain this independent media operation. And most importantly, you could also pick out a piece of clothing that expresses your political opinion that can't be censored yet. We just got our Donald Trump 2020 t-shirts, and of course, not to be outdone, we also have our Joe Biden and Kamala Harris shirts available for you. And for all you people fleeing New York, we also have a shirt that says F this place with the state of New York flag on it, just updated to fit modern circumstances. So yeah, this weekend saw an incredible amount of senseless violence that has been cheered on and promoted by the mainstream media reach new levels, new highs all across this country, not just in Washington, D.C., but of course Portland and many other cities across this country, all representing a movement that is cheered on by the mainstream media and supported by all the multinational globalist corporations out there. And the divide and conquer agenda keeps escalating like we said it would, as we had a Donald Trump supporting Patriot Prayer member that was assassinated in the streets after being shot twice by an individual who announced that he is 100% Antifa. As described by the suspect's social media post from June of this year, and according to the Oregonian, it was the suspect's own sister that this suspect was recognized in screenshots of the incident that left Jay Bishop dead. Now, interestingly enough, this is also the same man that was shot in the arm at a Portland protest when there was an internal conflict between protesters. He was also arrested July 30th of this year for carrying a loaded gun to a previous Portland protest, charges of which were dropped for unknown reasons. Now, the police are still releasing very little information about this entire situation. They have not arrested this suspect, and it's going to be interesting to see how this highly political case will be handled by both the police department and also, of course, the George Soros-backed prosecutor in Portland. But one thing is sure, that as we've been saying, this will only keep escalating the political violence in the United States, pushing the pendulum even further and creating a very dangerous situation for everyone involved here that has gotten fully out of control. Mainly because of central controllers and politicians literally sucking up the blood and tears of random citizens for their own political gain and power. And it's disgusting and it's sick, and guess what? It's continuing and it's escalating from here, and it's seen by bastardized institutions like CNN that literally are writing pieces that are completely lying about everything in such a blatant way, where even recently on CNN, we are seeing the author write that somehow Trump is trying to label what is happening in major cities as riots, and somehow this is not true, as he also has a photo of literal buildings on fire. Clearly, what we're seeing in major cities are riots. It's a major escalation of violence. We clearly see that, and yet you're trying to tell us it's not riots? And that's absolutely terrifying that we have such brazen attempts at Orwellian doublespeak, trying to classify riots as protests. And if that wasn't worrying enough, we now have new videos of Portland protesters reacting to the news of a Patriot Prayer member being murdered.
We can take out the trash on our own. I am not sad that a fascist died tonight.
Literal cheers and celebration because of the news of a death of someone from a different political belief. That is absolutely ruthless and cold-hearted, and let's not fool ourselves, is only being perpetrated by our establishment, as we're having the Portland mayor literally trying to blame everything on Donald Trump that happened inside of his democratically controlled city. Another U.S. representative from Florida, a Democrat, literally is blaming a politicized Homeland Security for what just happened in Portland. We also had U.S. Senator Chris Murphy tweet that this is Trump's America. While the time of this shooting, one of the most popular Reddit posts was this post that was titled, quote, "White supremacists are invading American cities to incite a civil war." But the murder of a Trump supporter shouldn't be blamed on Donald Trump. And I'm not even a Trump supporter here. The side of the aggressor here is the side that the mainstream media has been obfuscating or cheering on, as we're seeing New York Times mainline pieces by Nicholas Kristof that are literally writing articles titled "Help Me Find Trump's Anarchists in Portland" and, quote, "In Portland's so-called war zone, it's the troops who provide the menace." And I'm sorry, predominantly, mostly throughout all of the civil unrest that has been happening all throughout this country, it has been random innocent civilians that have been affected by it, or right-wingers that support Donald Trump. Not always, of course, but predominantly, to be factually true here. But when we look at what's happening in the United States, we get a picture of something that is completely different than what the mainstream media is reporting. We just saw an indiscriminate violent hate crime being committed in Baltimore that's going viral, of a random male getting a brick over the head, a video released with the caption, "White Lives Don't Matter," an event, by the way, that's being even celebrated by some. In Columbus, Georgia, a suspect went on a stabbing spree because, quote, he felt the need to find a white male to kill just a few days ago. A similar event unfolded in Aurora, Colorado, where a black man yelled "Black Lives Matter" before stabbing a white victim. This happened 3 days ago. In South Carolina, a few days ago as well, a man tried to shoot and kill a group of Trump supporters. In Los Angeles, a pro-Trump caravan was also shot at. And these are just some of the events happening within the last few days that are racially and politically motivated, as we're seeing a situation go towards its extremes, as this violence is becoming more underreported or just completely obfuscated by the U.S. mainstream media that is cheering it on at the same time that they are lying about it. They are the fuel, they are the propellant, they are the ones creating division, creating conflict, creating hatred, and most importantly, fear that is fueling these fires of a civil conflict that has already begun. It is here, and you are naive to think that it is not. I've been personally making calls to try to prevent it as much as I could, and as long as we still have the mainstream media and establishment figures allowing and excusing political violence, letting actual criminals run free when it benefits them, when it hurts everyone else, you really have to start wondering what is happening here. For me, it's a clear case of order out of chaos, in my own personal opinion. They want you guys fighting each other, since when you do, it benefits and allows the system that no one will fight against. Now, clearly, there's a big bias towards one side, but that should not stop any of us from being accountable for the actions that people commit. The first casualty of war is truth, and we have to understand that we are at a war right now. It's clear the establishment is favoring one side over the other. And as this unfolds and leads up to the election, it's only going to get nastier from here. It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. Prepare yourselves accordingly, because things will get a lot more interesting from here. That's my own personal take on it. If you thought I was wrong on anything, or if you disagree with me, let me know why in the comment section below. I always appreciate constructive criticism. I always appreciate also learning from you guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, especially sharing these videos. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't working for you. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.